Hi, I'm Gee Charman and welcome to my series of Back to Basic recipes. In this episode, I'm going to show you a delicious marinated fillet of beef in red wine, juniper and thyme. So I'm going to marinate my beef in 3 of the main flavours that go with it, which is red wine, thyme and juniper, and then for a little bit of an extra kick, a bit of garlic. Now when you're marinating beef, or any meat really, it's all about trying to get as much flavour as you can into the meat itself, rather than having it sitting on the outside like you would if you were coating it in a sauce. So first of all, and to save getting dirty hands, bag inside out, and the beef can just go into the bag, like that. And then it's just to add some flavouring. So I've got some thyme, beautiful fresh thyme, not the dried stuff, and I'm just going to pop that in with it. And then a couple of cloves of garlic. Now instead of chopping them, I'm just going to crush them with the back of the knife, just so that the skin opens up and the flesh starts to break. If you want all the recipe details, why not check out the description box. So the garlic goes in, and then I've got juniper. Now juniper is classic with venison, but I think it works really well with beef. They've got that sort of smell of gin about them, and it just gives a really nice aroma. So I've just got a couple of those, maybe 5 or 6, and again just give them a little bit of a helping hand to release some of their flavour by crushing them with the back of a knife. So they go in as well. And then into this, to help all those flavours marinate and swash around the meat, I'm going to add a good glug of red wine. Don't use cheap red wine because this is going to become your sauce later. I'm going to pop that in, and then a little bit of black pepper. But I'm not going to add any salt at this stage. The reason being, if you add salt, it will start to pull the moisture out of the meat. It withdraws the water, and then you end up with a slightly drier, tougher bit of meat. And then simply just seal up the bag, let a little bit of the air out. So I'm just going to put this aside for a couple of hours for all those flavours to infuse into the meat. So the beef has been marinating in the red wine, garlic, thyme and juniper for about 2 hours, and I'm just going to remove it from the bag. And I've got a little bit of kitchen paper here because I want to pat it dry before cooking it. All this beautiful sauce I'm going to pour into a hot saucepan, and then I'm just going to bubble that for about 10-15 minutes till it's reduced by about half and it's beautiful and sticky, and that bag can just go straight in the bin. Now for my beef, I'm just going to pick off any of the bits of marinade that have come out with it and then just pat it dry. The reason I'm doing this is because if it's got a lot of wine on the outside still and is still quite wet, when you try and sear it, it's going to stew rather than colour, so you want it nice and dry. And so a little drizzle of olive oil, a good grind of black pepper, and then this is where you add your salt. And then my pan is nice and hot. You want it really hot because you want to seal it on the outside, get a good colour, not black but nice and brown, because that's all flavour. So that can go in now. And then you're going to cook it for about 30 seconds on each side and just roll it around. Make sure you do the ends as well, and then we'll pop it in the oven. So now this is browned on all sides, I'm just going to pop it into the oven, and this bit will take about 10 minutes, that's all. So I'm going to put it in the pan. If you've got a pan with a rubber handle, pop it on a baking tray and cook it on that instead. So the red wine that the beef marinated in is now boiling and simmering away to reduce it. But what it does produce is a little bit of, for want of a better word, scum. Now that's just from the impurities of the wine and the beef, and the best thing to do is just use a spoon to take that off as they rise to the surface. So keep bubbling that as your meat cooks, and by the time it's done and rested, your sauce will be ready. So my beef is now out of the oven. It had about 10 minutes, but the most important thing is to rest it now. So I'm going to take it out of the pan and then pop it on a plate and leave it for another 10 minutes to rest. So I'll just set that to one side. And then in this pan, I'm going to finish making the sauce. So I'm just going to put it back on the heat. And then I'm going to add a little bit of chicken or beef stock, because all these caramelized bits on the bottom of the pan will make a wonderful sauce. You just want to use a spatula or a spoon to scrape off all the caramelized bits on the bottom of the pan. So this is just going to bubble away and reduce. Now to my red wine that I've reduced, the marinade, I'm just going to add a little bit of sweetness from some red currant jelly. Depending on your wine, you may or may not need it, but this just needs a little bit of sweetness. So I'll just let that melt in, give that a stir. So I'm going to add some of this red wine sauce into the chicken stock. Then grab a quick spoon, have a bit of a try. I think it can take a little bit more of the red wine. The best thing to do is taste it. If you put all that red wine in, it might be too acidic, but you might need it all for a boost of flavour. And then just to finish that sauce off, I'm going to turn the heat off, but to make it into a nice glossy sauce, I'm going to add that little bit of butter and splash it all over my work surface and just mix it in. This will give a really nice gloss to the sauce. And to serve with this, I'm going to have some mashed potato and some beautiful fresh tender stem broccoli that I've just fried very lightly in a bit of olive oil and a splash of water. So now that butter is all incorporated, have one more quick taste to check the seasoning. Bit of black pepper. So your sauce is done, made from that beautiful marinade. Your beef is beautifully rested, and all those resting juices that are coming from the beef can go straight into your pan. They'll just add a little bit more flavour to the sauce. And then pop it on a board ready for carving. Before I carve my beef, I've just got some lovely buttery mashed potato. Now I love mash with this sort of thing because the sauce gets soaked into it. I'm just going to warm this through slightly. Now, if you like this recipe and want to see more, why not click on the subscribe button? So that's perfect, nice and smooth. And then I'm just going to plate some of this up. Not going to be too chefy about it. And then some tender stem broccoli. I've literally just fried this in a little bit of olive oil, add a splash of water and steam it for a couple of minutes. It keeps it nice and crunchy and that beautiful bright green colour. And then just finish it off with a bit of butter, if you're not watching the calories, and some salt and pepper. And now I'm going to carve my beef. Now, some people like it really thin, some people like thick, chunky slices. I think for me, I'm going to do one chunky slice as if it were a steak, but whatever takes your fancy, really. How gorgeous is that? And simply spoon over some of this delicious sauce. And because it's been made with the marinade, it will marry the flavours of the beef and the sauce together. And then one final little sprinkling of salt on the beef, a little grind of black pepper. And there you have it, beautifully marinated beef in red wine, juniper and thyme. I really hope you've enjoyed this Back to Basics series and that you've picked up some tips to help you along your way. Happy cooking!